Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Rara Marava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopitana Balaba Girivadachari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Prabhupada Santa Shri Shri Madhya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Prabhupada Santa Shri Shri Madhya Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kuti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namaskar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Ki Jai Gorpanande all glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And we're in the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're on text number 19. Tasho Datarastranam. You can repeat. Hidayani Vidarayat. Namaskar Prithivim Chaiva. Tumalo Bhaya Unandaya. Sagosho Dhurastranam. Hidayani Vyadarya Yed. Namaskar Prithivim Chaiva. Tumalo Bhyan Unadayan. Sagosho Dhurastranam. Hidayani Vyadaya Yed. Navascha Prithivim Chaiva. Tumulo Bhyanunadayan. Anybody want to recite? Sagosho Dhurastranam. Hidayani Vyadaya Yed. Navascha Prithivim Chaiva. Tumulo Bhyanunadayan. Anybody else? Okay, so we'll do the word for word. Saha, bad. Go Saha, vibration. Dhurastranam, of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Hidayani, hearts. Vyadaryat, shattered. Nabaha, the sky. Taha, also. Prithivim, the surface of the earth. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Tamulaha, Tamulaha, laborious. Vayanu Dayan, resounding. Translations and purports by His Very Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The blowing of, the blowing of these different, let me take some water. Oh, it's full, okay. Translation, the blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Please repeat. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Purport. When Bhisma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse, it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Om Gyanantamaranda Shah Ganagana Salakaya Takshamali Tamena Tasmai Shigarave Namaha Shri Chaimano Vistam Stapi Tamena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Karamayam Dati Swapadanti Kam Vandeham Shiguru Sri Utapala Kamalam Shigurum Vaisnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Se Tanya Devam, Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lilita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha, E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanta Nagorange, Radhi Vrindavaneshwari, Vishwabhanu, Sutta Devi, Pranamami, Hari Priye. Vanta Kapias Tarubias Cha, Kripa Sindhu Evata, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaisnavyo, Namo Namaha, Jaya Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas, Adi Gaura Bhaktavinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, this is entitled, as I was said before, is Observing the Armies on the Battlefield. And before I go to the verse that I'm supposed to speak on today, I want to talk a little bit about who's observing the military, who's observing the army. So first we start with Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra was born blind. So he even though he was the oldest, he wasn't eligible to sit on the throne to be the king. So his brother, the second in line, Pandu, was made the king. And this always bothered Dhritarashtra, and he always had ambitions to be on the throne. He wanted to be the king. And that meant that he treated the Pandavas not like his own flesh and blood, but he treated them actually not nicely because of his son, Duryodhana. So Duryodhana, first let me talk about Dhritarashtra's character. He was spiritually blind. He was physically blind, but he was also spiritually blind. And he was also blinded by his love for his sons only. And his son Duryodhana also, because of his father's support, wanted very desperately to be on the throne. So when he was offered the ability to have divine vision so he could see what was going on the battlefield, he declined. First, he was afraid because he knew that the Pandavas were righteous and they were following their dharma, and his son was adharma. His son had no sense of religion whatsoever. So he didn't want to take the divine vision. He didn't want to see his son slaughtered, and he was hopeful that maybe the Pandavas would decide not to fight because Kurukshetra was a holy dham. And he was thinking that maybe because the Pandavas were so righteous that they would decide to give up their claim to the kingship. And then, too, he had doubts about his son's victory, so he wasn't really convinced that they were going to win the fight. So he asked Vyasadeva to give the divine vision to Sanjaya, who was his chariot driver. So Sanjaya was telling everything about what was going on in the battlefield, and he was keeping Dhritarashtra informed as to what was happening. And so through Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra was hearing what was going on the battlefield, and Sanjaya was one of the observers. He was observing. He could see everything that was happening. So the second observer on the battlefield was Duryodhana, because Duryodhana was pointing out all the soldiers, both on his side and on the Pandava side. And actually, he was really, when he saw the formation of the Pandavas' army, he was a little shocked and surprised at the expertise of their military phalanx, how they arranged everything. And, his thinking was very materialistic, because he had gone to see Krishna at one point before the battle. He went to Dwarka to see Krishna. And when he came to see Krishna, Krishna was sleeping. So he sat at the head of the bed and waited for Krishna to wake up. And about a few minutes later, Arjuna walked in. But Arjuna didn't set himself at the feet he didn't set himself at the head of Krishna. He set himself at the feet of Krishna, because we worship Krishna's lotus feet. We don't start with his face. We start with his feet, and then we work up. And that's also how the Srimad Bhagavatam is structured, from the first canto to the 10th canto. And the 10th canto is actually his lotus face. So then when Krishna woke up and he saw both of them, he saw Arjuna first, because when you wake up, you're looking down. So he saw Arjuna at his lotus feet. And then Duryodhana spoke to him and said, I was here first. So, but actually because Arjuna was the youngest, he gave him the opportunity to speak. And so he asked Arjuna, so how can I help you? What would you like? What do you want? Do you want me, or do you want my army? And Duryodhana was like waiting in anxiety, because when he heard about the army, he just figured, if I get more army, then I can beat them. Because he knew that on the Pandava side, they only had 7 Akshahini. That's the name of the amount of different sections of the army. He said he was really worried. He was thinking Arjuna was going to pick the army. But Arjuna told Krishna, all I want is you. And then Duryodhana was so happy. Then he figured, okay, so he got Krishna's army, which was headed by Kritavarma. So he was really happy about that. So he went back to Shakuni and told Shakuni, I got the army. I went to see Krishna, I got the army. Because Shakuni was the one that asked Duryodhana to go see Krishna. So when he came back and told Shakuni, Shakuni was like, Shakuni knew who Krishna was, that he was actually the Supreme Person of Godhead. So Duryodhana just got overconfident. He just thought, okay, I got this. It's just like Hiranyakasipu. When he got all the boons from Brahma, I don't want to die in the night. I don't want to die in the day. I don't want to be killed by, a human. I don't want to be, he thought he had all his bases, because he wanted to be immortal. But Brahma told him, we can't make you immortal. I'm not immortal, so how can I give you immortality? It's not possible. So then he said all these lists of how he didn't want to be killed, and he thought he had covered all the bases. And this is the mind of a materialist, because they think they're God. So they have all the bases covered. I've got it all figured out. But so this was a mentality of Duryodhana. But when he saw the arrangement of the Pandavas' army, he got a little disturbed. at their expertise. He didn't think that it was because of Krishna, actually, but he saw the arrangements. And of course, it was Krishna this was his whole plan, how things were going to go. So when he saw it, he got a little nervous and actually he got a little fearful. But he hid his fear. And, he was a diplomat. So there was a fear behind this bravado that he was putting on. He was overconfident. He felt he was superior because he had all these allies, and then he had Krishna's army. So he was like, I'm set. I'm good to go, But in his heart, he knew, there was going to be a problem. So as I think I said, he had 12 Oxrahinis, and Krishna, Arjuna's, Yudhishthira's army only had 7, but so what? Krishna was there. So if you have Krishna, even if you have one person and you have Krishna, you have everything. Actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're on Canto 11, Chapter 2, and a lot of the conversation in there between Vidura and Narada Muni, I think it was Narada Muni, they're talking about fearlessness. How do we get fearlessness? Because if we are not taking shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, we're going to be fearful. We're going to be in anxiety. Everybody in the world now, because of the world situation and the craziness of the politics, people are in anxiety about what's going to happen. They're in anxiety. And it's because they're not God conscious. They're thinking, I'm God, I can control this. And when they see that the situation is something they can't control, then they become stressed and anxiety prone. They're disturbed. So a little bit more about Duryodhana. Just a couple of things that he did before the battlefield. First, he sent Shukuni's son, Uluk, as a messenger to the Pandavas. And of course, the message that Uluk carried was very negative. And actually, Duryodhana was trying to provoke the Pandavas and make them angry. And so the message that Uluk brought was very, very bad and very negative and very insulting to the Pandavas, very insulting. So he wanted to provoke them. He wanted to incite their anger. And on the other hand, we see Krishna, who was a peacemaker. He went to speak to Dhritarashtra to try to convince him, because we know Krishna planned it because he wanted Yudhishthira to take over and to be the king of the world. But still, he went as a peacemaker because he didn't want history to say that the Pandavas were warmongers. He wanted his devotees to be glorified. So he went as a messenger, as a peacemaker, to the court to talk with Dhritarashtra about the correctness of things, and about Dharma and Adharma, and about his sons, and how they should do the righteous thing. And then in the end, he asked, at least, okay, if you don't want to give them part of the kingdom, then give them 5 parcels of land, because they're sattras. They have to have some place to rule. They're kings. They're sattras. They need some kingdom to rule. But Duryodhana said, not a piece of land that fits on the tip of a pin. I won't give them anything, because he was adamant about not giving anything to the Pandavas. In fact, through their whole lifetime when they were together, he found so many ways to try to kill them. But because Krishna was, the Pandavas were surrendered to Krishna, whatever happened didn't happen. Whatever Duryodhana wanted to happen didn't happen, and he couldn't figure it out, why they were always escaping his plans to kill them. So Krishna went as a peacemaker, and that didn't work either because Duryodhana insulted Krishna. And I think that's the moment when Krishna showed his partial universal form. And still, Duryodhana didn't accept. In fact, he had threatened to put Krishna in jail and put him in prison if he kept trying to talk about peace and trying to help the Pandavas. He was so inimical to the Pandavas, so ambitious. And that ambition he picked up from his father, Dhritarashtra. And that's why Dhritarashtra never corrected him. He knew what they were doing was wrong, but he didn't have the guts to say anything because he wanted the kingdom. He wanted his son to have the kingdom. So, and then I want to talk about so in this verse that I'm reading, I shut the page. Let me find it again. And the reason that I love this chapter so much, I did a lot of research also on all the warriors who are taking part in this war. And they all are very powerful kings. They have a really military background. There's so much about them, each one, because sometimes when we read, at least for me, when I read the chapter first, when I first got the Bhagavad-Gita, I didn't understand it. I was like, why is it starting out with a war? I don't even know these people. And there was just all these names, but after some years, and I started reading and studying about this particular war, especially the first chapter, then I got to understand about the whole story, which is in the Mahabharata, which I read several times. And then about Krishna, his giving the Gita information, the transcendental knowledge to Arjuna and why he did it. Because we know that Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was a pure devotee, and he was a friend of Krishna. And when Krishna appears in different incarnations, Arjuna does too, like Narayan. Both of them, he was Narayana. So Arjuna comes. But by Krishna's arrangement and Yoga Maya, Arjuna forgot who he was actually. And so this knowledge that Krishna was giving was passed down through the disciplic succession. But at some point, the disciplic succession got broken. So this is why he picked Arjuna to, again, reinstate this knowledge that all of us need to read and know, because we can apply it in our life. We need it to know how to direct our lives, what we need to do. And also explain so many things about who we are, what is our purpose. It's 5 topics. It's about the Jiva, Krishna, the Jiva, time, karma. So there's 5 topics in here that Krishna covered. So he gave this knowledge to Arjuna, and Arjuna played the part of a conditioned living entity, and he was disturbed about having to kill his relatives. His grandfather, Bhishma Dev, and they were very close, and Dronacharya, his military trainer, and all the relatives in that army on the other side. So he was another one of observers, because after Duryodhana pointed out all the different personalities taking place on both sides, then Arjuna was the next observer, because he asked Krishna to take me to the middle of the battlefield so I can see who's here to fight with me. And Krishna was a little amused, because in the text he said he gave a slight smile, because Arjuna knew who it was, but being his charioteer, Krishna followed his directions and took him to the middle of the battlefield, like this side and that side. And he was in the middle so that he could see who in his family, who was there, who was so anxious to fight, to kill each other. And we know the devastations of war. It's not just that the soldiers get killed in a war. The civilians are affected. You know, you have mercenaries, you have starvation, you have so many things happen when there's a war. You have refugees. So there was a lot of millions of deaths in this war. But this was Krishna's plan, to put Yudhisthira back in control and be the king of the whole world, because they were righteous, and he wanted that type of government to be ruling and taking care of the people, because Yudhisthira was very righteous. He never told a lie. He was very righteous, very pious. So I want to read a little bit of the previous purport, which is short. I better keep on time. It's short. It says that Sanjaya informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. And laudable means praiseworthy. I mean, who's going to praise someone who's doing sneaky things? Who's going to praise a person who's not honest, who tells lies, who tries to kill someone? Who's going to praise that person? And Dhritarashtra actually was the basic cause of the war going forward. It said the signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle. So Dhritarashtra lost all 100 of his sons. And Duryodhana was the last one who was killed. And he was killed by Bhima breaking his thighs. Now, in the fight with the Gada, you're not supposed to hit an opponent below the waist. But Krishna had a plan, and what had happened was that Duryodhana his mother called him because she wanted to protect him. So she called her son to come and see her because she wanted to give him protection, protect his whole body. But on his way to see his mother, Krishna saw him. He ran into Krishna. And Duryodhana had no clothes on, because his mother asked him to come like that with no clothes on, so she could make his whole body invincible. So when Krishna saw him, he kind of laughed and said, "Where are you going like that? Aren't you embarrassed?" So he convinced Duryodhana to put something on from his waist to his thighs, to cover himself up properly before he went to his mother. So when he went to see his mother, and Gandhari had put on blindfolds because her husband was blind, and she didn't want him to feel inferior to her. So she also blinded her eyes because her husband was blind. But at this point, she took off her blindfold, and of course, by that time, she had gotten a lot of power in her eyes. So when she opened her eyes, she was strengthening Duryodhana's body with her look. But then when she saw that he had covered his thighs, she chastised him, said, "I asked you to come with nothing on. Why did you not follow my instructions?" So that meant that his thighs were weak. So when he had that fight with Bhima, Krishna was behind everything. When they were fighting, it was a really long fight too, because they both were very powerful. And Krishna knew that they were both equally powerful. So he wanted to give Bhima an advantage. So when they were fighting, he signaled Bhima to hit Duryodhana in his thigh. And another reason that he also, Krishna told him how to do it was because Bhima had taken a vow in the court of Dhritarashtra after the gambling match and after they tried to derobe Draupadi. Bhima had taken a vow that I'm going to break those thighs that you asked my wife to sit on, because Duryodhana, when he saw Draupadi and he knew that she was helpless at the time and they dragged her by her hair into the court, he patted his knee like that. He was insulting her. He wanted, because now they had gambled Draupadi, and now Draupadi was to be a slave to the Kurus. So Duryodhana slapped his thigh and told Draupadi to sit on his thigh. And when Bhima saw that, he got outraged and he swore that I'm going to break those thighs of yours for insulting my wife like that. So that's why Krishna directed him, break those thighs, because you promised, I'll help you keep your vow to break those thighs for insulting your wife Draupadi. So that's how Duryodhana left his body. But he was in agony. It took a long time because of his thighs being broken. But Bhima had done a pretty good job of wounding him. Okay, where was I? So beginning with the grandsire Bhima down to the grandson like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world, all were present there and all were doomed. They were all going to leave their body. There were only the 5 Pandavas left after the war, plus Krishna, of course, and then 7 from the other side, the Rodna side. There were 7 left out of all those millions of commanders and soldiers and foot soldiers and elephant riders and chariot drivers, and everyone was killed. But the one thing about this is that they all saw Krishna. And it's said in the scriptures that they were all liberated. So at the end of this, in text 16-18, the last sentence here says, the whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. So then, before I read the test that I'm doing today, at the end of text 15, it says, so the particular types of conch shells blown by the different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So wherever there's Krishna, there's the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle. And that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells blowing. So in my purport today, it says, when Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences, I don't know if I let me read the translation again before I go to the purport. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Now, when they're talking about the hearts, they're not actually talking about the heart itself, because that word, the heart, can be used in different kind of ways. Like sometimes we'll say, let's get to the heart of the matter, which means the core. We want to get to the main point. And the heart also carries emotions. So when it says it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra, the vibration, the sounds, it means They lost their strength, their courage. They knew in their hearts when they heard those conch shells, because the sounds of those conch shells were transcendental, and the sounds of the conch shells of the other side of Dorona were not. But with Krishna in the center, helping the Pandavas, it was a transcendental. Anywhere there's Krishna, it's got to be transcendence. So they were transcendental. When they vibrated those conch shells, it hit both the sky and the earth, up and down. And the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party was shattered the hearts of the sons of the Dhritarashtra's party. This was due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. So I was also relating this to the story of Bhakti-Hiranyakasipu and Prahlad Maharaj. If you're familiar with the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and his demoniac father, now, he was only 5 years old, and he had to go through so much torture from his father, but yet he was never afraid. He was 5, and he was never afraid. He put him with snakes, boiling water, he threw him off the boiling oil, he threw him off mountains, but Krishna always came to his rescue. And this is because of his confidence and faith in Lord Krishna. And that made him fearless, no matter what happened. All he did was chant the Lord's name. It says, one who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. And the Pandavas went through so many calamities by the hands of Duryodhana, like sending them out of Hastinapur to go to, I forget the name of the place where they were sent to, where there was a house that was made of lac. Somehow he told them, you should go visit that place. I forget what the whole detail was of why they went. There was something going on there, and he thought he convinced them to go, to stay there. And the plan was to kill them, to set fire to the house when they were asleep. Also, even when they were young, Duryodhana fed a poisoned cake to Bhima. So there were so many ways. And then the whole gambling match, and Shakuni, Duryodhana's uncle, how they got cheated from their kingdom up to the point of losing their wife. So, but no matter what happened to them, they never said, I'm done with you, Krishna. You're just letting all these things happen to me, and, why are you not, letting all these calamities come? But the prayer of Queen Kunti, and she's the mother of the Pandavas, was that let these calamities happen again and again. And the reason she was praying that is because when she said, when I have calamities, then I remember you. Because sometimes when we have calamities, we may pray to the Lord, but then when things get all right, sometimes we forget. So we need to remember Krishna in the good times and the bad times, the hard times. Remember both when things are going nicely and when things are not going so nicely, because we're in the material world and there's duality. We're going to have joy and pain. We're going to have heat, lots of heat, and cold. So it's duality. So regardless, we should just take shelter of the Lord and have faith that he's always there for us. We just need to have that faith and surrender to his lotus feet. I have so much information about the warriors, but I won't do that because I won't have much time. There's only 20 minutes. But there's one, and speaking of surrendering to the Lord and why we should surrender to the Lord, one of my favorite verses in the end chapter, the perfection of renunciation. I remember years ago, and I never forgot that class, one devotee gave a class on this purport, and it was such a beautiful class that this translation stayed in my mind, and that was at least 12 years ago. But this one stays in my mind, and I always remember it. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanura Daraha, Tatra Shir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitya Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. So we shouldn't depend on the ordinary course of events for anything we want to do. Even if it looks like it's a difficult task, or I don't have the money to do this project, or whatever. We should just go ahead and do it and depend on Krishna to help you if you're trying to please him. He will definitely help and provide all that you lack. Because he says, and I don't know the verse, I don't know the exact chapter, but I preserve what you have and I provide what you lack. So whatever you want to do in Krishna consciousness is wide open. Just depend on Krishna to help you. Even if you only have $10 to your name or 10 rupees to your name and you want to do a project, just begin. And trust that Krishna, because it's for him and it's to please him, that he will take care. So it's 5:24. We have 5 minutes if you have questions or comments. No questions? Okay. I'm sure I could probably talk more because I did, some time ago, I did a whole class on this chapter. And I found the paper. And I had typed down all the personalities in that were mentioned in chapter 1. I looked them all up. And also, I can just give you also the signs of victory. So, of course, one sign of victory is that Krishna is present. And when Krishna is present, so isn't the goddess of fortune. And the chariot that that Krishna was driving for Arjuna was given by the fire god Agni. So it was mystical. And then on Arjuna's flag was Hanuman, who's the example of devotion and victory, because we know his background and how dedicated he was to Lord Ram and his service to Ram, particularly burning down Lanka and relaying a message to Sita, so many things that Hanuman did, bringing the mountain for Lakshman when Indrajit had sent a weapon and it knocked him out. So these are some of the signs of victory. And maybe there's one more story. And I don't have all the details, but it's about Abhimanyu, because for me I found that most tragic. That was the one that really got to me. That all those warriors like Karna and Dronacharya and all of them, 7 warriors fought with Abhimanyu. And the thing is that Abhimanyu knew how to get into the Chachavyuha, the arrangement that was made, because there's different kind of arrangements that the army makes. And this one was very difficult to get out of. But Abhimanyu knew how to get in, but he didn't know how to get out. And the reason he knew was because when he was in his mother's womb, Arjuna was, no, not Arjuna. It was Arjuna, yes, thank you. He heard part of it, but he didn't hear all of it. So he could get in, but he couldn't get out. But the backstory for that is that when Krishna came in this particular incarnation, he brought, of course, he always brings all of his associates, and one of them was the son of Soma, the moon god. And Abhimanyu was the son of the moon god Soma. So when Krishna asked for Soma's son to come down, who was now named Abhimanyu, he said he wanted his son to come back soon, not to stay for a long time. So that's part of the reason why he got killed so young. But still, the killing is just on the surface, because then he went back home to his father, because we know we don't actually, as it says in the Gita, we don't actually kill anybody. Nobody's actually killed. It's just the body that's killed. And Krishna did that to get rid of all the negative energy by the demons on the earth. He wanted to relieve the burden of Mother Bhumi, which it says that's what he comes down for, to enliven the devotees and take care of the miscreants. So it's 5:29, I've used up my time. Thank you all so much for coming. It's so hot. I'm so glad to see that some devotees came. Thank you so much. Vanta Kapis Rubi Strad, Kripa Sindhu Bhava Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.